The CEO, my wife, abandoned our 1-year-old son to go buy a luxury condo for her new assistant, Leo Vance. The assistant sent me a screenshot of his Instagram story. In the photo, Ava Harrison let Leo sling an arm around her shoulder, the two of them beaming with happiness in the new apartment. The caption read, "Thank you, Ms. Harrison, for making this place feel like home. I'll never forget this incredible kindness." I forwarded it directly to Ava. "So this was your urgent matter? Buying him a condo and throwing yourself in as a housewarming gift?" Ava sent a voice note back instantly, her tone syrupy sweet. "Honey, Leo is all alone here, new to the city. I was just helping him get settled so he can focus on his work. You have 10 minutes. Fire Leo, get rid of that condo, or you'll deal with the consequences." Ava didn't reply. 5 minutes later, every major partnership with Harrison Holdings was forcibly terminated. If she was going to throw my respect back in my face, I had no problem bankrupting her family's company and finding my son a new mother. Ava's custom ringtone blared for the 10th time. I figured I'd let her stew long enough. I hit accept, curious to hear what she'd say. The moment the call connected, Ava's furious voice exploded through the speaker. "James Carter, have you lost your mind? Those are $100 million contracts. The company's IPO is next week. Pulling these deals now will destroy everything. You're a shareholder too. Are you really going to sacrifice the entire company over something as petty as a condo? Don't you think that's childish?" Buying a condo for a man she'd known for 2 weeks was just a petty thing to her. And this was the first time in our 5 years of marriage she'd ever raised her voice to me on behalf of another man. I collected myself, lifted my teacup, and took a slow sip. The warm Earl Grey slid down my throat, but it brought no comfort, only a spreading chill. "You've got money to burn, Ms. Harrison, calling a multi-million-dollar gift a petty thing. I guess those contracts weren't so important after all. You have 5 minutes left." My voice turned to ice. "This is your last chance." I hung up and continued to sip my tea. 3 minutes later, she sent a photo of Leo dragging his suitcase out of the condo. Another picture followed, the deed now solely in Ava's name. But I wasn't satisfied, because the company-wide memo announcing Leo Vance's termination never came. Fine. She couldn't bear to part with her little boy toy. I called my project manager and reinstated half of the terminated contracts. The other half would remain severed. Part 1 of her punishment. 2 minutes later, I sent Ava a photo. In it, everything she loved in our home, her designer furniture, her art collection, was smashed to pieces. That included her favorite Van Gogh, the one she'd spent $300 million on. I thoughtfully included a close-up of the shredded canvas on the floor. "Ava, this is a warning. Cross the line again, and you know what happens next." No response from her side. I knew she was furious, but my own rage was a white-hot inferno. Our marriage wasn't just a strategic merger of our families. We were childhood sweethearts. We'd gone to the same schools, played in the same parks, practically inseparable. It was only when my parents moved our family's business to London for several years that we drifted apart. Then, 5 years ago, Harrison Holdings was struggling and needed Carter Industries' access to the European markets. My family, in turn, needed their deep-rooted connections to re-establish our presence in the States. Our parents saw we already had a history, and the marriage of convenience was sealed. We didn't have some epic romance, just shared memories and a rational choice for mutual benefit. "James," Ava had whispered, nestled in my arms on our wedding night, her voice hazy but firm. "I can't believe we found our way back to each other after all these years. I'm not just your business partner now. I'm your wife. I'll take care of you, and we'll build a life together. And I'll be the husband you deserve," I'd promised, sealing the vow with a light kiss on her forehead. Over 5 years, we went from familiar strangers to genuine partners, and a quiet love grew between us. No matter how late one of us worked, the other would leave a light on and a warm meal waiting, often dozing on the couch until they heard the key in the door. This year, with both Carter Industries and Harrison Holdings more successful than ever, we finally had our son, Jake. He was the perfect embodiment of our love, the ultimate proof that what we had was real. I believe his arrival would make us unbreakable. But now, Leo Vance had appeared, and the trust and warmth we'd spent years building had begun to fracture. It was late when Ava came home, her face a thundercloud. She didn't say a word, walking past me as if I were invisible and heading straight upstairs to the guest room. I knew it was her silent, passive-aggressive way of showing me how angry she was. The next morning, however, when I came downstairs, she was already at the dining table, waiting. It was her signal for a truce. A new day. In 5 years, we'd had our share of arguments, but we had an unspoken rule: never carry yesterday's anger into tomorrow. I made your favorite eggs Benedict, she said softly. Eat it while it's hot. Even cold, anything you make is perfect. I offered an olive branch in return. Let's eat together. You didn't have dinner last night. You must be starving. The fragile peace of breakfast settled over us, the tension from yesterday easing. Just as I swallowed my first bite, the doorbell rang. Before I could even react, Ava shot up from her chair, as if electrocuted, and rushed to the door. That must be Leo. I'll get it. Splat. The piece of food I just picked up fell from my fork onto the table. My eyes locked on the front door. A moment later, Ava led Leo Vance inside. I was stunned. She never allowed outsiders into our home, not even her top executives with urgent reports. But here she was, not just inviting him in, but standing so close to him they were practically touching. Leo was wearing a bespoke suit, the kind from a world-renowned tailor who only makes 10 a year. Ava had bought me 2 of them for my birthday last year. Now, one was on an assistant she'd hired 2 weeks ago. Honey, Ava said, oblivious to the storm brewing on my face, her tone light and cheerful. Leo and I have a meeting to get to, so I told him to just grab a bite with us here. Mr. Carter, sir. I'm so sorry for the intrusion, Leo said, quickly adopting a respectful, deferential expression. Ms. Harrison was just worried I'd skip breakfast in a rush this morning. Fighting back a wave of nausea, I forced a cold smile. If you're so sorry, then grab a plate and eat it outside. The smile on Leo's face froze. He stammered, his eyes darting to Ava, pleading for help. Ava's brow furrowed in annoyance. James, what is your problem now? She snapped. I just invited him for breakfast. Is that really such a big deal? Is it? I shot back with a sneer. The CEO of a company about to go public has nothing better to do than buy her assistant a condo, gift him bespoke suits, and now you're fussing over him like a mother hen. What exactly is his status that a top CEO needs to personally cater to his every need? And another thing, remember your last assistant? She came here starving during her dinner break to give you a report. Did you ever once invite her to stay and eat? Ava was speechless. At the time, Ava, have I been too lenient with you? I rose slowly from my chair, towering over her. Our son just turned 1. You insisted on weaning him early to focus on the IPO, worried something might go wrong. Did I say a single word against it? You said you were worried about Jake, so I moved my entire Carter Industries operation in my home office, so I could be here with him. Did you ever hear me complain? Have I been so good to you that you've forgotten who you are, forgotten who I am, that you feel you can shamelessly defend this outsider right in front of my face? My tirade left her staring at the floor, silent. Leo looked like he'd seen a ghost, his face pale with fear. I'm sorry, Mr. Carter. It's my fault that you and... Did I say you could speak? I cut him off. An assistant interrupting his superiors? Did they forget to teach you basic etiquette? Seeing me humiliate Leo, Ava lost it. She grabbed her porcelain bowl and smashed it on the floor. James, that's enough. We're not eating this breakfast. We're leaving. We have a meeting. That act sent a chill down my spine. She had never, ever thrown a tantrum like this in our home. And now she was doing it, smashing things for Leo. Standing to the side, Leo visibly relaxed, a flicker of relief in his eyes as he saw Ava leap to his defense. A meeting, I asked, my voice dangerously calm. What meeting? The Acor partnership, Ava said, realizing she'd gone too far. She smoothed her blouse, her tone softening slightly. You canceled half our active contracts yesterday. I have to find a way to make up for the loss. And Leo was a huge help in getting this meeting set up, so I'm bringing him with me. I raised an eyebrow, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Oh, I had no idea a junior assistant had that much pull. Influencing the decisions of a multinational corporation? Impressive. Ava's face darkened. She grabbed Leo's arm and pulled him toward the door. Let's go. We'll eat after the meeting. I've completely lost my appetite. As Ava walked ahead, Leo glanced back over his shoulder, a smug, triumphant smirk on his face. It was pure provocation. You asked for this, Ava. If you're so determined to champion this kid, then don't blame me for what comes next. I pulled out my phone and dialed the chairman of A Corp. Mr. Roberts, it's James Carter. About that meeting Ava Harrison has with your team today, I think there's something you should know. 3 hours later, Ava called. This time it wasn't just anger. Her voice was a raw, deafening roar. James, what the hell did you do? Mr. Roberts didn't just cancel the meeting. He publicly accused Harrison Holdings of being ungrateful. He said our company only got to where it is because of you, and that while you were home taking care of our son, I was out chasing other men. He called me a disgrace. He humiliated Leo, called him a boy toy who slept his way to the top. This was you, wasn't it? I let out a cold laugh. Ava, you reap what you sow. People are talking because your actions gave them something to talk about. Don't blame me for the fact that you two can't keep things professional. The public has eyes. They can judge right from wrong. Ava choked on her rage. Leo couldn't take the humiliation. He just walked out. The deal is dead. The IPO is on the verge of collapse. Are you happy now? Happy? Oh, I'm ecstatic. The fact that your company isn't bankrupt yet is a miracle. You should go light a candle. Ava shrieked in frustration, and the call ended with the sound of her phone shattering. The noise brought a flicker of satisfaction to the fire in my gut. A knock came at the door of my study, and my assistant entered. He reported that the news about Leo had already swept through Harrison Holdings. When Leo returned to the office, he was met with whispers and glares from every colleague. They called him a shameless social climber who used dirty tricks to get ahead. All of his belongings had been dumped from his desk into a trash can. He tried to defend himself, pleading that he wasn't that kind of person, that his co-workers were being cruel. But no one listened. He might have been a sweet, obedient puppy around Ava, but behind her back, he was arrogant and dismissive to everyone else. They'd had enough of him. Besides, who in their right mind would side with a junior assistant against me, the head of Carter Industries and a major shareholder in their own company? Now, some of the senior partners and veteran employees at Harrison Holdings were starting to worry that following Ava was a path to ruin. A leader so easily manipulated by a powerless, pretty-faced subordinate wasn't a leader anyone could trust. Humiliated and ostracized, Leo had already submitted his resignation. The HR director, who despised him as much as anyone, bypassed Ava and approved it on the spot. Leo got exactly what he deserved for coveting what wasn't his. Ava, however, hadn't given up. She scrambled and managed to get a tentative meeting with another international firm. When she finally returned to her office and discovered Leo had been forced out, her face turned black with rage. It was dark when she finally came home. I was in the nursery, rocking Jake to sleep. His chubby little face, a perfect mix of Ava's features and mine, had managed to dispel some of the darkness from my day. Ava stormed into the room, shattering the peaceful moment. Leo is just a hard-working kid trying to make it, she seethed. Why are you so determined to destroy him? You didn't just get him fired. You've ruined his reputation. No one will hire him now. We've been married for years, and I'm only now seeing your true colors. You're a despicable, petty man. Her words were a needle to my heart. The first time she had ever spoken to me with such venom, all for another man. Her eyes looked at me as if I were the enemy. Did I even need a woman like this in my life? Jake's sudden cry pulled me back from the brink. I fought to control my temper, gesturing for her to be quiet. Once the baby was calm again, I handed him to the nanny, led Ava into my study, and closed the door. Unleashing the fury I'd been suppressing, I grabbed her by her slender neck. Ava, ask yourself, I snarled, my fingers tightening, how many of your own rules have you broken for that boy? You can't have a single conversation with your husband without bringing him up. You bought him a penthouse, bespoke suits, a limited edition watch. And now, for him, you speak to me with such contempt. It was your indulgence that made him think he could get away with anything, that he could post that picture on Instagram for the whole world to see. The entire city is already gossiping that you're having an affair with him. Ava's face turned crimson, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water, unable to speak. I loosened my grip, allowing her to gasp for air. You're lying, she choked out, sucking in desperate breaths. There's nothing going on between Leo and me. Your mind is just filthy, twisting a mentorship into something ugly. Her warped logic made me laugh, a bitter, humorless sound. I slapped her across the face. I stared down at her, my voice like shards of ice. Ava, I'll admit it. I love you. Otherwise, I would never have supported your career with everything I have, much less have a child with you. But you need to understand something. James Carter does not tolerate sand in his eyes. I will not accept a single speck of betrayal or deceit, not even an emotional affair, not even a hint of ambiguity. The only reason I've put up with this is for our son's future. But if you continue down this path, I won't hesitate to find Jake a new mother. Ava, clutching her cheek, looked up at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. You want to divorce me? That depends entirely on your future behavior. With that, I walked out of the study, my gaze drifting toward the nursery down the hall. 3 strikes, Ava. Push me again, and it won't be as simple as a divorce. For inches the dead of night, the soft click of the bedroom door woke me. I squinted through the darkness. It was Ava, clad in a thin silk nightgown, gliding toward the bed. She slid in behind me, wrapping her arms tightly around my waist. James, I was wrong. She whispered, her breath warm against my ear. I can't lose you and Jake. I'll cut off all contact with him. Please, just forgive me this one time. For Jake's sake, this is the last time, I said, turning to pull her into my arms. My fingers gently brushed against her bruised cheek. Does it still hurt? No, she murmured, shaking her head. That slap woke me up. Seeing my weary sigh, her hand on my chest drifted lower. James, let's have another baby. A jolt went through me. My pent-up frustration needed a release. In one swift movement, I was on top of her, my body pressing down. We could talk about a second child later, I growled. Tonight, your husband is going to teach you a lesson and restore some order to this house. Ava responded with a willing whisper. I'm completely at your mercy. The next morning, it was nearly 10 before and I finally got out of bed. I told her to take the day off. After the night we'd had, she was exhausted, and the swelling on her face hadn't completely faded. Besides, she needed to spend time with our son. After breakfast, the 3 of us played together, Jake babbling happily. For the first time in what felt like forever, a sense of warmth and normalcy returned to our home. That afternoon, I called my project manager and told him to resume all of Carter Industries' partnerships with Harrison Holdings. Back in the living room, Ava's phone rang. She glanced at the screen, saw it was Leo, and immediately declined the call, then blocked the number. Seeing her decisive action, a wave of relief washed over me. Trust me, James, she said, hugging me and planting a kiss on my cheek. It's over. From now on, it's just us. Ring, ring. Her phone rang again, this time from an unknown number. She was about to decline it, but I stopped her. Answer it. Let's see what new trick he's trying to pull. Ava hesitated for a second, then hit accept and put on speaker. Instantly, Leo's choked sobs filled the room. Ms. Harrison, help. Please help me. I don't know what to do. Help you. Ava's brow furrowed. What's wrong? Speak clearly. I'm being blacklisted. No company will hire me. They all say I'm a shameless climber, a boy toy who slept his way up. It's all over the internet. I'm being cyberbullied. People are threatening me. I'm too scared to even leave my apartment. His voice trembled with a mix of terror and helplessness, punctuated by ragged sobs. Ava's expression hardened instantly. Her gaze snapped to me. Don't panic, she said into the phone. Stay inside. I'll handle this right now. The story of how Leo had offended me and gotten too close to my wife had already made the rounds in our social and business circles. To curry favor with Carter Industries, people would have taken these actions on their own, even without a word from me. But the situation wasn't nearly as dire as Leo was making it out to be. I'd seen the online chatter that morning, and it was barely a ripple. I sighed. Leo was a hell of an actor, playing the victim to prey on Ava's protective instincts. And it worked. The look in Ava's eyes changed completely, her face now a mask of fury. She ended the call and slammed her phone down on the coffee table. Her voice, when she spoke, was colder than I had ever heard it. James, I admitted I was wrong. Leo resigned and is out of our lives. Why do you have to keep persecuting him? I was wrong about you. You use your power to crush anyone you want. How did you become so vindictive? A switch flipped inside me. I snatched my teacup and hurled it against the floor, shattering it into 1,000 pieces. I was done being patient. Ava, after all these years of marriage, is this all the trust you have in me? When have you ever known me to do something and not admit it? Not admit it. The whole city knows he crossed you. Who else would do this? Huh, you've really let him get to you, haven't you? Doubting me again and again, all for another man. Ava's face was grim. Leo is just a young professional trying to build a career. Even if he had some inappropriate ideas, it was over when he resigned. But you didn't just blacklist him, you sicked an online mob on him. What are you trying to say? I asked, my voice dangerously low. I'm going to compensate him for the damage you've caused. I'm reinstating him at Harrison Holdings, and I'm promoting him to Chief of Staff. He's earned it. And what if I'm determined to crush him? Then you can try. Before, I was patient with you out of respect for my husband. But I never imagined you'd become this unreasonable, this cruel. I'm sick of your domineering personality. I'm not letting you run wild this time. I'm protecting Leo, and that's final. With that, Ava spun around and stormed out, the slam of the front door echoing through the villa. In that moment, any remaining hope I had for us died. The last flicker of warmth was extinguished. I collapsed onto the sofa, engulfed by a tidal wave of anger and grief. I slammed my hand down on the coffee table, the sharp edge of a broken shard of glass slicing into my palm. The searing pain brought a sliver of clarity. Ava, we're done. If you're so determined to stand by his side, then don't blame me for being ruthless. In the executive office of Carter Industries, my hand was wrapped in a thick gauze bandage as I watched the flurry of activity around me. Corporate lawyers and accountants were working at a feverish pace, untangling the complex web of assets shared between the Carter and Harrison families. My personal attorney was drafting a divorce agreement on one screen while requesting supplementary documents from the legal team on another. An hour ago, I had summoned them all to my office. I instructed them to pull every file, every contract, every financial tie between our two corporations and begin the meticulous process of severing them. At the same time, I ordered all department heads to suspend joint ventures with Harrison Holdings under the guise of an internal audit. Over 5 years of marriage, I had given Harrison Holdings unprecedented access and resources. It was time to take it all back. Mr. Carter, the HR department, has already begun reaching out to Harrison's key technical staff, my assistant reported, navigating the controlled chaos to reach my desk. Good. If double their salary isn't enough, double it again. I want their top talent under our roof. Yes, sir. I'll oversee it personally. Wait. I stopped him as he turned to leave. And gather every piece of dirt you can find on Leo Vance's past. Wait for my signal. Understood, sir. Predictably, these moves caught my father's attention. His call came through quickly. The moment I answered, I told him straight out that I was divorcing Ava. My father was silent for a moment on the other end of the line. He didn't ask why. He simply said, "Are you sure?" Completely. All right. I won't ask for details. Your mother and I trust your judgment. We support you. My only condition is this. You get full custody of my grandson. For everything else, do what you have to do. If things get messy, I got your back. Thanks, Dad. By evening, I was reviewing the first draft of the separation plan. This is good. Proceed as outlined. I told my vice president, you have 2 days. This has to be surgical. I want everything pulled out before Ava even suspects something is wrong. Not a problem, Mr. Carter. He and the other executives replied in unison. No questions, just absolute obedience. That was the Carter way. I kept my personal lawyer behind to fine-tune some details of the divorce agreement before finalizing it. 2 days passed in a blur. Every thread connecting my life and my business to Ava's was quietly snipped. Even Harrison Holdings' core R&D team was now on my payroll, set up in a newly formed subsidiary. The operation went so smoothly, thanks in no small part to that clown Leo, keeping Ava distracted. Her Instagram feed for the past 2 days showed her parading him around to business lunches and galas. After work, they were out shopping or dining at exclusive restaurants. Neither of them paid any attention to what was happening inside her own company. Ava hadn't been home since our fight. A woman who would abandon her home and her own son like that deserved everything that was coming to her. She wouldn't even have tears left to cry when this was all over. I looked at the photos of Leo showing off the new sports car, the new watch, the new condo Ava had bought him. All told, it had to be worth tens of millions. Huh, she really does have money to burn. I scoffed. Turning to my assistant, I said, "Take me to the Harrison estate." Before I left, I picked up the framed wedding photo of Ava and me from my desk, gave it one last look, and tossed it into the trash. The stage was set. It was time for the final act. At 7:30 p.m., I arrived at the Harrison family estate in Greenwich. Ava's parents were already waiting for me outside. When they saw me get out of the car, they hurried over. "James, you're by yourself?" Ava's mother asked, peering into the car. It was a last-minute trip. "I didn't bring Jake," I said, offering a simple excuse. "I came because there's something I need to discuss with you both." Ava's father noticed my unervingly calm expression and, with a flicker of concern in his eyes, gestured for me to come inside. Once we were in the living room, I didn't waste any time. I told them everything. How their precious daughter had turned against me for a male assistant, how she was buying him cars and condos, and how she had started staying out all night. As I spoke, I wore an expression of profound disappointment, my voice laced with sadness and hurt. The performance fueled their anger toward their own daughter. Ava's father's hand trembled as he held his phone, struggling to control his rage as he dialed Ava's number. "I don't care who you're shacking up with right now. You get yourself back to this house immediately," he roared. "Don't give me any excuses. If you're not standing in front of me in 30 minutes, you don't ever have to come back." He slammed the phone down and glanced at me, his mouth opening and closing as if he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. He began pacing the living room floor. Ava's mother, her eyes red, took my hand. "James, I am so sorry," she said, her voice filled with guilt. She tried to comfort me, promising over and over that they would make Ava apologize, that they wouldn't let me be wronged like this. I nodded calmly, my mind already plotting how to escalate the situation, how to make them so completely disillusioned with their daughter that they would consent to the divorce. They had always treated me like their own son, and bringing this to them was a last resort, a way to cut the cord quickly before things got even uglier for them. Poaching their company's talent was business. Once the divorce was final and I acquired the company, I'd give them a generous stock package to retire on. It was the least I could do to honor the promises made between our grandfathers. 30 minutes later, the front door opened and an irate Ava stormed in. When I saw Leo trailing behind her, I had to physically restrain myself from smiling. The fool. She actually brought her boy toy here, to her family's home. This was better than I could have planned. "James, what are you doing here?" Her face soured even more when she saw me. "So I was busy and didn't come home for a couple of days. Did you really have to come crying my parents?" Before I could answer, her father's voice boomed across the room. "Ava, James is your husband. What is that tone? What exactly have you been so busy with that you've abandoned your own home? Enlighten me." Ava fell silent, realizing she'd been caught in her own lie. "And is this your new assistant?" her father asked, his gaze shifting to Leo, who was hiding behind Ava. All slick back hair and no substance. A common gigolo. Fire him. Ava finally understood. Her face clouded over, and she shot me a venomous look. "James, you told him. You deliberately went after Leo and hurt him. All I'm doing is making it up to him. When will you ever stop?" Her words were the final straw. Her father strode forward and slapped her hard across the face. "You disgraceful girl. You're the one who's been bewitched by this parasite, and you have the audacity to blame your husband?" The blow was heavy. Ava's cheek immediately started to swell, and a trickle of blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. Leo, startled, instinctively pulled out a tissue to wipe the blood from her lip. That intimate gesture made both her parents flinch. I knew it had struck a nerve. "Ava, what do you think you're doing? Is this how I raised you? If you have no shame, the Harrison family still does," her mother shrieked. Her outburst made Leo freeze. Realizing this was not the time to play the hero, he quickly withdrew his hand and retreated behind Ava again. Ava glared at her parents, too afraid to talk back to them, so she directed all her fury at me. "Are you happy now, James? Seeing me get hit? You're a manipulative snake. I've had enough of you. I want a divorce. I never want to see you again." Smack. Her father hit her again, this time with enough force to send her stumbling to the floor. "What nonsense are you spouting?" he bellowed. You're the one who's acted so shamelessly, and you dare to take it out on your husband. Why did I ever have a child like you?" Her mother, beside herself with rage, grabbed a glass from the table and hurled it in their direction. "You bought him a house, a car. Did you think your father and I were dead?" Ava and Leo scrambled to dodge the projectile, but Leo still let out a cry of pain. "Huh," her mother sneered. "Quite the actor, aren't you, boy toy? You dodge it just fine but still have to cry out. Desperate for a woman to feel sorry for you." Leo's face went white. He knew he'd overplayed his hand and wisely kept his mouth shut. Seeing her precious boy toy frightened, Ava's eyes flashed with protective pity. She stood in front of him. "Mom, Dad, Leo, and I just have a professional relationship. I see him as a younger brother, that's all. We're innocent. Nothing happened. Don't listen to James's lies." Her parents stared at her, utterly dumbfounded by her statement. They were so furious they could barely breathe, their mouths agape, unable to form words. But Ava stood her ground, meeting their glares with a defiant stare of her own, signaling her unwavering resolve to protect Leo. A tense silence descended upon the living room. Seeing my moment, I stood up, retrieved a file from my briefcase, and spread it on the table for everyone to see. Since Ava wants a divorce, there's no point in dragging this out any longer. The bold words on the cover, "Divorce Agreement," made everyone gasp and stare at me in shock. Ava's voice trembled. "James, you're really going to divorce me?" My eyes swept over her and then to Leo. "Yes, it's as real as it gets." Her parents rushed forward, attempting to intervene. "James, we know our daughter is at fault, but divorce is a serious step. Can't we all just sit down and talk this through? Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, there's no need. My mind is made up." "I don't agree," Ava suddenly shouted, tears streaming down her face. "There's nothing between Leo and me. Why won't you believe me? I just misspoke earlier. I don't want a divorce." I stepped away as she reached for my hand, my eyes locking onto hers. "I warned you," I said calmly. "I told you that night was your last chance. I gave you that chance. But what have you done since then? You've ignored our 1-year-old son to run around with this boy toy. Did you really think I wouldn't know what your work entails? You were given an opportunity, and you threw it away, choosing to defend him and disrespect me time and time again. You refused the easy way, so now you get the hard way." Ava staggered back, her body swaying as she stared at the divorce agreement on the table. Her mother grabbed my arm, her voice pleading, "James, is there really no room for discussion?" I shook my head, gently pulling my arm free. "Mrs. Harrison, this is not negotiable. When a piece of fruit is rotten to the core, do you keep it?" Her parents both looked down, their hands clenched into tight fists. The urge to strike their daughter again was gone, replaced by a sense of finality. "Ava," I said, looking at her dazed figure, "you don't have to sign this. But if you don't, we'll see each other in court. I have plenty of photos of your little escapades. I'm sure a judge will see things my way." As I turned to leave, both Ava and her father called out at the same time. "James, wait, /wait. Ava, sign it," her father said, cutting his daughter off before she could continue. "Our family has failed in raising you. We have failed the Carter family, and we have failed the memory of your grandfather, whose life was saved on the battlefield by James's grandfather. Sign it now, or I will have you formally disowned." Ava shuddered, her eyes wide with disbelief at her father's harsh words. Finally, she relented. But when she picked up the pen, her hand was like lead, unable to move, her eyes fixed on the first page. I prompted her, "Stop wasting time. You didn't hesitate this much when you were slamming the door to run off with your boy toy." Ava bit her lip, tightened her grip on the pen, and finally turned the page. Her eyes immediately locked onto a single clause. She looked up at me, her voice sharp. "What is this? I waive all custody and visitation rights. I'm his mother. How can you take that away from me? Why are my parents allowed to see him, but I'm not?" I didn't hold back. "Search your conscience. Ava, besides giving birth to him and breastfeeding him for a single month, have you ever once been a mother to our son?" "But I'm still, Ava." "Enough," her father's heavy voice interrupted again. "Sign it. This is the consequence of your actions. The first thing I ever taught you was to take responsibility for your mistakes." After a few more moments of tense silence, Ava sighed in defeat and quietly signed her name. I picked up the agreement, a slight smile playing on my lips. After a polite goodbye to her parents, I turned and walked away without a second glance at Ava. Let her drown in the pain of divorce and losing her son for now. The real suffering was yet to come. James Carter, always keep my word. I said they would pay a heavy price, and I don't make empty threats. A week later, two major events concerning Harrison Holdings shocked the business world. First, its acting CEO, Ava Harrison, was arrested and sent to prison. Second, Harrison Holdings underwent a massive restructuring. The ownership changed, and its entire business strategy shifted. The internet buzzed with speculation. How could a corporate giant on the brink of an IPO collapse so spectacularly in just a few days? The root of it all, of course, was Leo Vance. After signing the divorce papers, Ava finally woke up and realized the catastrophic extent of her mistakes. She tried to make amends, come into my office every day to beg for my forgiveness, hoping for another chance. But I refused to see her. When she became too persistent, I instructed security to bar her from the corporate campus and our residential community. Rejected and heartbroken, Ava's grief slowly curdled into a burning rage directed entirely at Leo. She unleashed a furious campaign of revenge against her former favorite. First, she had HR officially fire him. Then, she sent people to repossess everything she had given him, only to discover the expensive watches and luxury cars had already been sold to pay off his gambling debts. Consumed by anger and betrayal, Ava completely lost control. She hired a group of thugs to beat Leo so severely that he was left permanently disabled. That, at least, removed the thorn that had been stuck in my side. When Leo woke up in the hospital and learned his life was ruined, he was consumed by his own rage and immediately called the police. The outcome was predictable. Ava was arrested and sentenced to 5 years for aggravated assault. That was after her father, hearing the news, pulled every string and called in every favor he had to get the sentence reduced. Naturally, Ava's father was not about to let Leo, the man who destroyed his daughter, get away scot-free. He sued Leo for fraud and embezzlement of private assets, with the amount totaling in the tens of millions and other illegal activities coming to light during the investigation. Leo was sentenced to life in prison. The little clown's life was over. Even with good behavior, he wouldn't see the outside of a prison for decades. It was a fate far more satisfying than simply getting rid of him. But disasters never come alone. When Ava's father, who had been retired for years, learned that his daughter's recklessness had led to a mass exodus of talent, leaving the company a hollow shell, the shock triggered a heart attack. After stabilizing her husband, Ava's mother came out of retirement to take control. She called an emergency board meeting, revoked Ava's shares, stripped her of the CEO title, and completely restructured the company's ownership. Then, she transferred 50% of the company's shares to my name. Combined with the shares I already held from our marriage, my stake was now 60%. Harrison Holdings was now, for all intents and purposes, a subsidiary of Carter Industries. I didn't touch the shares belonging to Ava's parents. After everything they had been through, they would need the financial security more than ever. Today, I arrived at the city clerk's office at the agreed-upon time. I had just lit a cigarette when a police car pulled up to the curb. Ava, in handcuffs, got out flanked by 2 corrections officers. I froze when I saw her. In less than a month, she had become gaunt, her eyes sunken and her face pale and bruised. A pang of something I couldn't name went through me. I realized life inside was treating her harshly. I noticed she'd made an effort to fix her hair, a small attempt to maintain her dignity in front of me. Whatever hatred I had left for her seemed to evaporate at the sight of her broken state. I stubbed out my cigarette and walked over to the officers. "Excuse me," I asked quietly. "Would it be possible to remove her handcuffs just for a little while?" Seeing their hesitation, I quickly added, "She won't run. This might be her last time in the outside world for years. And I am, for a few more minutes, still her husband. I'd like her to have this last bit of dignity." A flicker of light appeared in Ava's empty eyes. Her mouth opened slightly as she stared at me, stunned. The older of the 2 officers considered it for a moment, then nodded. It was strange, finalizing a divorce with 2 armed guards standing behind you, but it was better than her having to sign the papers and steal bracelets. "Thank you," she whispered, her gaze fixed on the ground. I nodded, saying nothing. Seeing her like this, all the sarcastic remarks I had prepared died on my lips. It was better to let it end quietly. 5 minutes later, we walked out of the office. Ava kept her head down the entire time, only looking up when the clerk asked her to confirm her identity. I felt a strange sense of unease. The vibrant, powerful CEO was gone, replaced by a woman consumed by regret and shame. Before she was escorted back to the car, I said, "Behave in there. Try to get out early. Then you can see Jake." "You?" She looked up sharply, her eyes instantly filling with tears. "You let me see our son?" I nodded. I had seen a dangerous emptiness in her eyes, a look that told me she might give up. For everyone's sake, she couldn't fall apart. Jake had to be her reason to keep going. She smiled then, a flash of her old self returning. I waved goodbye and walked toward the Rolls-Royce Phantom parked down the street. "James!" Ava's voice stopped me. I turned. She wiped a tear from her cheek and gave me a deep, formal bow. "I'm sorry. I will be better. I won't disappoint you or our families ever again." "Good," I said. "I'll hold you to that." 3 years flew by in an instant. Carter Industries had grown into an industry titan, a benchmark for companies nationwide. My parents, who had spent years overseeing the London branch to protect it from hostile takeovers, were finally able to return home to retire and enjoy their grandson. I signed the last document on my desk and walked into the adjoining break room, which I had converted into a private playroom for Jake. I smiled, watching my now 4-year-old son playing happily with Sophia Reynolds. 2 years ago, at an international trade summit, my ex-girlfriend Sophia learned I was divorced and immediately began a relentless campaign to win me back. We had broken up years ago because her family, based in Europe, disapproved of me and tried to force her into a strategic marriage with another business scion. A series of misunderstandings followed, and we went our separate ways. But Sophia was stubborn. Refusing to submit to her family's plans, she made a deal with her father. If she could triple her family company's market value in 3 years, she would be free to make her own choices. She succeeded, not only meeting the goal, but also maneuvering her father out and taking sole control of the corporation. When she first started pursuing me again, I resisted. My only focus at the time was my son, Jake. But Sophia was clever. When a direct approach failed, she used a flanking maneuver, getting to know my parents, who then introduced her to Jake. The two of them hit it off instantly. And just like that, almost without me realizing it, Sophia and I were together again, picking up where we left off. "What are you smiling about over there?" Sophia teased. "If you're done with work, we need to get going." This is her first time meeting Jake in person. We can't be late. Her first time, Ava had been a model prisoner, even saving another inmate's life, and was granted early release a week ago. She had suppressed her desperate urge to see Jake, wanting to get herself into a better state of mind first, to be at her best for him. She had refused to let him visit her in prison. Instead, she would talk to him on the phone whenever I visited, slowly building a connection. Every time Jake asked to video chat, she would have to choke back tears and refuse, knowing one look at her surroundings would give everything away. I agreed with her decision. It was better to let him adjust to the idea of her slowly. "Daddy, you promised Mama Ava finally has time to play with me." "You have to keep your promise," Jake said, running over and hugging my leg. I scooped him up into my arms. "Of course, buddy. Daddy never breaks a promise. Let's go right now." Holding Jake with one arm, I offered the other to Sophia. The three of us walked out of the office like a family. Half an hour later, when Jake finally saw Ava, she was shy and reserved. But Jake, acting like a little gentleman, walked right up to her, started chatting, and then introduced her to Sophia. The three of them hit it off immediately, their laughter echoing from the playground. Later, while Sophia took Jake to the restroom, Ava came and stood beside me. "James, thank you for being so gracious," she said, wiping a tear from the corner of her eye. "You were right. Once something is broken, it can never be truly whole again." "This is good," she continued, looking at our son. "As long as he's happy and healthy, that's all that matters." I turned my gaze to the brightly colored merry-go-round, filled with the sounds of joy. "Yes," I said, "as long as we can live freely, nothing else is quite as important." Life is short. Rather than being chained to the pain of the past, it's better to move forward and live fully in the present. In a story,